The film opens at an Italian convent, where Sister Mary is seen praying before she waits for the Mother Superior to fall asleep so she can swipe her keys. Mary makes it to the gates and almost escapes, but the other members of the convent grab her and snap her leg through the front gate. Mary awakens in a coffin and screams in futility for help. A young nun, Sister Cecilia, is arriving in Italy at the same convent to take her vows. Upon arriving, she meets Mother Superior, and is given a tour of the convent by Sister Isabel, who shows Cecilia the ins and outs of the place before letting her know the catacombs are off limits. Cecilia also meets her roommate, Sister Gwen. Cecilia takes her vows under Cardinal Franco Merola and Father Sal Tedeschi. During a small celebration, Cecilia talks to Tedeschi about how she survived drowning in a frozen lake after her heart stopped for 7 minutes, which Tedeschi takes as a sign that Cecilia was chosen by God for a special purpose. Cecilia starts to undertake the duties in the convent, which includes tending to the elderly when they soil themselves, or when they die, as well as having to cut the heads off of chickens for food. She also ends up coming across a member of the convent dressed in robes and wearing a face mask after having collapsed, but she is sent away after seeing this. She also later notices a woman with crosses having been branded onto her feet. Cecilia then appears to witness something involving a nail taken from the cross where Jesus was crucified. She then seems to be pulled back by several figures appearing like the woman she saw collapsed before they pierce her with the nail. Cecilia then jumps awake, as this was just a nightmare. During a bath, Cecilia begins to vomit. After she is checked on by the medical staff and questioned by both Merola and Tedeschi, it is determined that Cecilia is pregnant via an immaculate conception since she has never laid with a man. The rest of the convent comes to view her as the next Virgin Mary, though Cecilia is overwhelmed and burdened by this new task. As Cecilia undergoes her second trimester, Sister Isabel attempts to drown her in a fit of rage, claiming that she should have been chosen and demands that the test be redone with her. Later, Isabel jumps to her death from the roof of the chapel. Gwen openly begins to criticize and question what is going on at the convent, and the others attempt to silence her. At night, Cecilia hears screaming and pleading for help. She comes upon Gwen being strapped to a chair where she has her tongue cut out as punishment for her earlier outburst. Cecilia also comes upon an underground lab filled with jars of fetuses. One morning, Cecilia is heard yelling in pain. The others come to find her covered in blood, as though she is having severe issues with her pregnancy. Tedeschi escorts Cecilia to the hospital, but one of the nuns discovers a headless chicken under her bed, with the blood coming from that. She contacts Tedeschi, who figures things out quickly, forcing Cecilia to run. Unfortunately, she is caught and has her feet branded to prevent her from fleeing again. Tedeschi then explains to Cecilia that their goal is to use the lab to recreate the second coming of Christ after using DNA from the cross nails and finding a chosen Virgin Mother. The fetuses were failed attempts at recreations, and he attributes Cecilia's survival in the lake as proof that she was chosen for this purpose. Cecilia reaches her third trimester, realizing that her child will either be the next Messiah or the Antichrist. Just as the Mother Superior is doing an ultrasound, she grabs a crucifix and bludgeons her to death before making her next escape. She then strangles Merola with her rosary, but her water ultimately breaks. She then heads to Tedeschi's lab and begins to douse it with ethanol. Tedeschi arrives and tries to stop Cecilia, but she makes it outside as he tries to strangle her. She breaks one of his fingers and then ignites the ethanol with a lighter. The lab appears to explode with Tedeschi inside, but he extinguishes the flames and breaks the door down. Cecilia begins to run. Cecilia starts to make her way through the catacombs, coming across Gwen's corpse in the process. Just as she manages to reach a way out, a horribly burnt Tedeschi grabs her. He starts trying to carve the baby out of her stomach until Cecilia grabs the nail that she concealed and pierces his throat with it, killing Tedeschi for good. Cecilia makes her way out, but then begins to scream in agony as she finally gives a painful birth and bites the umbilical cord off. The baby is not seen, but it can be heard emitting an inhuman growling and rasping noise, indicating it is not another Jesus. Cecilia then walks over to grab a large rock, then proceeds to scream before crushing the abomination.